Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hello. Hello. Oh,
Hello.
I forget. Never mind. Go on first.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
We have to.
Hello.
Yeah. Who start?
Welcome to
Who wants to?
DevKami. My
I'm
name is
Chile.
Cname.
Okay. I'm Chile.
And I am Tristan.
And let me open the new tab because I forget to open up the most important tab of DevOps. The most important window at DevOps is called the DevKami webpage. My bad. So what's
Cool.
happened next week? The short answer is Hari Raya. So there shall have
Nothing.
nothing next week, I hope.
There's a rush to it up.
Damn it.
Rush it
The day
out.
before Hari Raya.
Okay. Oh, that's a bit tough for me.
Yeah, but one thing we won't have next week is we probably won't have a show next week because we got a bit lazy. It's Hari Raya. Enjoy your holiday.
Yeah.
Don't. It's a 3-day work week next week.
Most
It's a
likely.
3-day work week, right?
Not actually. Not really. Most likely, but we'll be actually just bumming at home.
Yeah. Please don't
Because
play
we
firecrackers.
cannot go out to eat again.
Yeah. Also, don't play firecrackers. It's illegal. Part of the community service. So either way, next week we'll only have Rust Meetup, and otherwise enjoy your Hari Raya. It's a holiday.
Yeah.
So
Enjoy your
next thing that we need to talk
imaginary
about
open house.
is actually it's not blog. I'm so sorry. I need to update my blog. I have so many things to write. First thing is Rota Jakiro. I don't so this actually
What language is that?
I do not know what language is that, but this is a security company that actually had a system that this flag ELF file. So this is actually a backdoor targeting Linux system. So this is targeting of servers in your routers. So they actually so this is actually a very good post about how they do reverse engineering on binaries, and this is actually one of the key. You want to understand how people find malware, build antivirus signature, and all that. This is what they actually do, lah. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool actually. What do you guys think?
I don't know.
So just so you know, I used to. I don't know that, but I know the Hack in the Box people actually knows this. Actually, believe it or not, and so I actually work for some antivirus company. So I heard a lot of these stories.
There's only one antivirus company in Malaysia, right? I don't know.
Yeah, there's only one. So let's move on. So this one is actually implementation of full-text system call. Because this one they actually try to improve a few things for NUMA function and all that, but as a result, they also help with Wine because Windows API treat thread very differently because Windows use a different sort of mutex to do their synchronization. So one implication of implementing full-text 2 is they will have Windows style full-text, which would make Wine work better along with many things.
It's an option to choose the.
Yeah. They're not replacing inside. It's just having extra thing that they can use as a system. For me, I'm just happy because if it make my Windows game runs better on Proton, I'm happy. So anything else you want to talk about on this? If not, I move on.
No.
Move on.
Cool. This one is from Chileong, and I like this because this shows a lot of quite a few interesting things to use about loop on Python.
I actually even as a I like it. I when I saw this I like it.
Yep. And also if you notice this one, this trait actually is common in Advent of Code. It's not as common. It's just that I think
you're gonna use it a lot.
yeah, correct. Because we had otherwise the loop will be so deep, it will be ridiculous. So what we do is we actually put our collections in a product. It's a function under Ether tools, and you build all the permutation for it. So this thing doesn't reduce your big O, but it still grow the same way. But it just makes the code cleaner. Yeah. So yeah, this one if you use Python, I suggest you do this because this is quite some. I would call it advanced, but it's not too bad actually. So it's a very neat trick that will make your code cleaner and all that. So anything you want to add, Chi Leong, since this is from you?
No, nothing. It's a very good blog post to introduce people how to do it different ways.
Correct. Yeah. Let's move on.
Well, what's the best way? What's the Python way?
It's not Pythonic.
Whichever that is more explicit, more readable, and maintainable.
Correct.
The Pythonic way is being explicit, yeah. But apparently the Zen of Python is sort of dead these days.
Correct.
That's why
heretic. These are heretics. Heresy.
Yeah, the second verse is actually explicit is better. Simple is better than complex. But the one that I actually rendered a bit in the Slack channel is also like there's so many ways to do concurrency, and each of them because the way they do it are so different, it requires driver support for each, and they cannot interrupt with each other. So we can still like use a CyclePG with async, but we cannot get the benefit from it. Yeah, assuming you're muted.
The traditional way for Python to do concurrency is very Unixy, in a way that you're supposed to we just spawn process. And in the world of cloud, we just spawn server instance to do more stuff when needed.
Yeah, well, the thing about spawning processes is it's very different when you're in Windows. You don't have the parent-child relationship of spawning processes in Windows.
Yeah, so precisely because so this where the Python guys is a system person, and those system persons tend to be Unix people. So that's where things comes in. So
also guilty confession time is I never use Python on Windows.
Yeah.
I never tried.
So this is one
I don't know whether they work or not on Windows.
It does work actually, and I do know how to make it work, but I've been a bit lazy.
Even
like
this event, let me have a look.
Yeah, I think it works actually. It works. I remember again it works, and it's not too bad. It's not trivial, but it's not like a space program. It's not rocket science. So YouTube is building their own video transcoding chip.
Yeah.
They're a billion-dollar company that can do whatever they want. But
and especially this kind of optimization will save them a lot of money in the long run.
Correct. So if they can get everything works properly here, so I hope to see more interesting thing from it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hope there's more people.
Can they use it for mining?
Well, it's internal, so if I can get a hand for it, then you can test
depending on the chip design.
Correct. Because of this one, if they're only dedicated for YouTube, they can potentially be very specialized.
Even VP9
it's not about YouTube, right? It's about the codecs, the video and audio codecs.
The CPU, the power consumption, everything counts.
Correct.
The skill.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But if everybody can actually adopt the technique, that's another story. So yeah, interesting stuff. Next one.
And transcoding is unlike normal encoding. It's often pretty much real time.
Yes.
Almost real time. Just like us sending data to YouTube and to the live audience. So
Correct.
Well, it's. I'm not sure if it's transcoded though. Most likely, like common formats are already
no, it's
cached
actually
as
for
actual
no,
files.
it's it's an encoder, but actually it's the purpose is for the transcoder lah. One of the thing that because there's a lot of data being streamed to YouTube. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah. For live, probably yes.
yeah.
It needs to be real time. But for playback, I don't. I think it's a waste to do real time transcoding for plays,
No, it's
like
not
when you
gonna be
play
real time,
something.
but at least for compared to the CPU usage, everything you
Yeah,
save them
yeah.
money in the long run.
Yeah, because it's specialized.
Yeah, even the power consumption is already justifiable.
Yeah, it's like this Plex server that I have when I enabled NVENC, so the NVIDIA encoder, like CPU usage is down and the power usage is like a lot down because you're not using software to encode or transcode your video.
Yep. So let's move on.
Yeah.
Dell is issuing a security patch for all the computers up to 2009. I got a feeling I might be affected. So this is actually
how is it affected? Like their update mechanism? Yeah,
so
it's
this
often that lah.
yeah, it's a CVE using DB utils driver. I think this is affecting Windows. Yeah, this Windows. This is a DI.
What is DB-util?
It's one of the It's one of the internal DB
Yeah,
driver.
it's like install a remediate package containing the BIOS.
Yeah.
The update mechanism lah.
Yeah,
So-
correct.
So is that a RC remote code execution vulnerability?
I don't know.
Yes, it says it may lead to escalation of privileges, denial of service, or information
Because
disclosure.
often when certain manufacturer or vendor they say there's a vulnerability, often it's the update mechanism.
Yeah.
It's a firmware update utility package and the Dell command update. So basically, if you never reinstalled Windows, you probably have that. And if you're using Dell updating, like for example, the Spectre thing, right? You need to update the firmware for Dell. So most likely you have it,
So yes.
which is probably the reason why this is like an important patch, because even if you don't download stuff or like you have a very hygienic way of using your computer,
Unless you're
probably have
using
it.
Linux, then
Yes.
shouldn't be affected.
So
By other things lah, other vulnerabilities of Linux,
Correct.
not
So
this lah.
it's- correct. So the last one on the list is I don't think I hear sound.
We can hear it.
Yeah.
Oh,
maybe.
okay. It's piped from my. So this is actually, in short, this is actually a local programming
It's a game
thing
for you
from-
to create game.
Yes. So Dog, I heard you like game. So now you can have a game to make game, so they can play a game to make game to play game.
They unfortunately I heard that they are winding down the Labo thing also, right?
Yeah, the Labo thing, unfortunately,
It's a bit
because it's
sad,
not
yeah.
as flexible. It's a good cardboard, and the cardboard is not, how I would say it, it's not as reliable, so it didn't work out. But this one is, I believe, is coming from the success of Mario Maker.
Oh, I didn't know Mario Kart is a success.
So you can actually define Mario. I'm going to turn off the sound. So Mario Maker allow you to design the level of a Super Mario game up to Mario 60. No, it's 2D platformer. So Mario 3D and the 2D platformer thing. So this one is a big expansion for it lah. So you can design your own asset. I'm not sure how far you can willing to design. You can design, but this is a local game development thing lah.
Yeah.
So which I think is interesting, but it's just me lah.
It'll be fun if they have some sort of like a store where you can publish it.
Correct. I will just buy it just because I'm a fanboy.
So this is like this brings me back to when I still had my Apple II, and this
Yeah.
like arcade machine was one of the like important software for the Apple II. I put it on the chat. I don't know if you want to show like to
Let me open
highlight
it
it on a
because
banner.
I'm gonna paste it.
Uh,
I'm gonna share it.
yeah. So this it's the same thing except that it's from 1982.
yeah.
You make your own game basically, or you make your own arcade type game. So you create your own sprites, and you what do you call this? You generate some behavior, etc. So it was quite fun trying to learn how to program before without actually like doing programming. Well, I mean, you're doing programming, but it's not like the code stuff.
It's a
Yeah.
Yeah.
you have a runtime.
So it's a
and
good
we set it up for you.
yeah. When you're especially for children, like they don't know that they're actually learning programming, but you're actually being introduced to that world, the arcade
Correct.
machine. That's a big thing.
So an alternative for this, if you are into classic gaming, this Game Boy Studio. This is also a local game designer. You need to provide artwork and all that, or if you're lucky to find it, you can find it. This will compile to. Here's the interesting thing. This will actually compile to a ROM that you can put on the flash card that can run on the Game Boy if you have it. And again, this is a local thing, but it exists. So if you're interested, and people do make game for it. So it's one of those things I want to learn. I need to figure out how to do the artwork, which I'm very weak at. But yeah, so nowadays there's a lot of opportunity to do game development.
Yeah, even
local
the
stuff.
gaming industry activity are getting more active these days from my newsletter.
Correct. But there's a catch though. The catch is even professional tools are actually low code-ish. So a lot of it is you set up, then you run through a script. The editor is a lot of it is like playing through scenes and all that. Not a lot of code until you have to do the physics lah. Because most of
But
physics
a lot of the what they call this, the animation stuff is similar to how you do animations for movies anyway. You don't really code
Correct.
a lot. You do a lot of yeah. I don't know if I'm not sure why they would call it low code. That's just how animation has been done. You don't. It's very difficult to do code for animation, like to
Yes.
have like that kind of interactivity, because for that type of creative work you need to do something, and then it needs to you need to have immediate feedback for things. So
Yeah, which is
that's
why
just how it is.
things like even the open source tool Godot engine actually do things like this actually. So but you still have to design your artwork, and that's your differentiating factor. So, because it's very rare that you have to simulate physics the level of Kerbal Space Program, for example, it's very rare. So if you do console physics,
Well,
yeah,
in that case, if you are going to be needing accurate physics simulation, you're probably just going to buy a library that does physics simulation. So the core library for that you're using would already have it there. Just
Yeah,
like for
correct.
example, Unity will already have like some
Correct.
physics algorithm. You don't code in physics unless you want something very different. But then usually, whatever you code, whatever you changes that you want, they would already have like dials or like switches or knobs to change.
Correct.
Nothing
So-
radical that you'll need to
Yeah.
actually code something.
So if you have standard style, mostly already done, focus on how do you bundle, give differentiating factors. So a lot of it are crafting and all that lah. Those are the weird stuff. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. I'm not a game developer anyway. So that's about it for Buzz Corner. And of course we'll see on our website and all that. So what up with you guys?
Follow up.
I have this link. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if you want to look at it, so I will paste it again on our private chat. Up to you if you want to show it.
No, you can put
This is like a roadmap thing, and
for
I'd
big game
like
developer.
maybe not a
Oh.
game developer, like a
No,
backend
big game,
developer.
big game developer.
Okay,
I'm
yeah,
going to share
and
my
maybe we can
screen.
get Swimming's
Opinion.
opinion on this.
Yeah,
It
some of them,
sucks.
some of them correct. Ignore the
It
graph one.
sucks.
You can live with it.
My opinion on this, from what I see, it depends on how deep you go in your life. So,
Or depending on what you want to do first. Do you want to do like sysadmin type kind of work first, or you want to do system programming first?
Oh, they have
Correct.
DevOps as well. I'm not sure why they want to separate it, but yeah. So this is just backend.
I'm going to give a few things. First thing is, often you're not going to have chance to work on memory management or ITCs and all that. You
You need, I don't know.
for some reason, we may use it, but it occurs to me that things
Yeah,
like working with STD out and all that is a bit of a lost art.
Yeah. So here's the thing. You're touching on Rails development now, and you're gonna wish that all of your developers actually know how to do memory management, because it has a very
I think
a reputation of just eating up memory
Oh,
if you don't know what you're doing.
I think it
Ruby
should-
developers just like their memory.
at least people should understand, even though using high level tool, that should understand a bit how the runtime works, and then
yes.
the space and time complexity of
Yeah.
that.
Not just leaving it to the garbage collector to clean up their mess.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is why you have like 4 gigabyte
Yep.
like
It's not
programs.
just that.
happening.
Even allocation will take CPU time.
Yeah.
So if people if we want to like optimize we are using Ruby, but we want to optimize on the part, then at least reduce the allocation or something like that. Tricks. There are tricks to do that.
Okay, let's start from the top. It's a pop quiz for everyone.
True.
How does the internet work?
The
level
first
do you want
one
to know?
very important. That should be the basic. Domain name, hosting, DNS, and stuff.
Okay,
Right.
so I'm going to argue that let's forget about this high level, how internet work, because it's a rabbit hole. You should know HTTP, right?
Yeah.
You should
No,
know
DNS. You should know DNS caching and
Okay.
stuff.
Okay, fine. We're going to jump from left,
I had
right.
I had a bug report give to me because the bug report, as in a dev support bug report, is that
Yeah.
the dev from on the other side doesn't understand DNS cache and call it a bug.
Okay.
Oh, because it doesn't work on his machine, and then
Yep.
even though you've already changed the
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm
that
going-
foundation is very important.
All right. So what you should know about DNS?
Yeah, at least how it works. What is it about?
yeah.
So
Like, did you know that a domain can point to multiple IP addresses, and it doesn't and depending on where you request it, like which DNS server replies, you can actually have a different IP address even. Like sometimes people get surprised, like, whoa, that can happen.
And also
Wait,
depending on the cache.
don't everybody know that?
No, because you can
not
actually
really.
use it for
Not
a
really.
poor man's
That's what you do
Hi,
wrong. That's what you do
swimming.
wrong, Robin.
Surprisingly, the top one is the one that I see the most lacking for a lot of people.
Oh my god, it's
Yes.
obvious.
Because it get abstracted by, you just need to do AWS and stuff. All these things get abstracted. Yeah.
Okay.
Like for example,
Alright.
you can do something like a poor man's round robin load balancer.
Also,
right?
swimming
Like,
it's
you want to
also
add
not
more.
so boring also lah. I did the training for about this with Sina project back then, and people aren't that bored also lah. So it's actually something that can be taught without being too boring also lah. At least on the internet how it works lah.
So put it this way, here's what I think. For DNS, you need to know a few core things. You can have multiple address. The TTL is important in practice because a lot of
browser how they work important as well, like the data that we send and the data that we store.
Correct.
At least some basic overview.
A records, Quadace, Cname.
Yes.
Also, I'm actually spilling more than I should. A lot of also security experts out there, they treat certain HTTP code as security flaw. Like 404 is a security flaw. So if you are going to return 404, nope, you cannot do that. And also like if you include certain header in your payload, the whole packet is gonna be flagged and get dumped. So I've seen and worked with a lot of these cases that
are these people or automated tools that are flagging 404 as a security?
It's people.
People?
Yes.
Okay.
And also tools. But if
I don't know about tools.
If you don't know how to interpret the results, means you don't know as well, right? So that.
Okay, so DNS, TTL, what descent and all that. Then HTTP, Chilang already talked about HTTP code. Yeah. Please don't put 200 for everything because that will kill people.
No, that's what how enterprise work.
Yes, I know, but if you can do it properly and the boss don't kill you, do proper HTTP code. So I like this story. There is this case where Google cache server accidentally deleted a database, an offline database.
I'm gonna add a rant over here as well because that's why partly I don't like GraphQL because it's always give you something.
Correct.
200.
So
then you have to inspect the payload.
Yes. So okay, this is a
So browsers, HTTP as well, like the differences between 302 and 301, like for efficiency, right? Like, do you want to cache it on the browser side or on the like you want the browser to always ask you, or is it here, or like are we going to redirect?
Yeah.
Yes. So it goes to my story of the case of Google caching server. So this database that got deleted because what happened is some people actually make delete as a HTTP GET, but caching server automatically cache HTTP GET. So as a result, the data keep being deleted because the requests are being cached and the bot use it.
Because that's the guarantee, at least from the specification, that if you get something, it's cacheable. So unless you have like all of your e-tag headers or whatever,
also
like cache expired stuff.
The browser, the accepted browser response code of a cache policy, cache control. No cache doesn't mean no cache.
Yes.
Yes. No cache means that it's actually telling the browser that there's no cache. Please cache it. I've seen a lot of mistake, like people put no cache thinking that it's gonna tell the browser that there's no cache. No, it means that please cache it.
Yes.
It's like I'm not doing the caching. You do it.
Yeah, it means that
if you want it, like something like that.
The right resource to read about this is actually MDN. MDN still is a pretty good resource.
Oh, even though they're defunded.
Yeah,
like Mozilla stopped funding MDN, right?
It's a third-party thing. I think someone is working on that now.
I think they are working with a new platform. I don't know. The docs are still current, and the browser updates they stopped getting as crazy as a few years ago. So it's still okay.
Yes. Okay.
OS very important for terminal command needs to know. POSIX basics need to understand because. Also, I caught people writing a program just because they don't know how to do the basic commands.
Yeah, correct. Please, shell script exists for a reason. Not everything is to be written in Python.
Well, why not? Python can be a shell script.
No, I mean, as in you don't have to.
I mean, unless you have to serve a web server.
If you spend a day trying to do it.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense.
Often what you want maybe a pipe. Okay, it's a complicated pipe.
Yeah.
All you need is to
Also
pipe a few functions,
also to understand
regular
how pipe
expression.
works.
Yeah, or
Yes.
like to
I've seen
if I
people
want to
write
rename
pipelines.
files, let's say, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You do not need a
And
unless
also
you're on Windows.
I've seen people's like especially a lot of data people, just because they don't know how pipe works, they go through they go through via like something that is totally heavy like Hadoop and stuff, just because they don't know how to use pipe.
Correct.
So that kind of situation, I mean, as in there are some better ways to do it. Basic is very important.
Correct.
Check it out. It's not like I'm just trying to be the neckbeard to tell you that if anything that can be done with with the some bash command that you should do it. No, it's actually get to know it so you can save yourself some time also.
Correct. So here's what I think you need to know about operating system. Terminal is already covered. Learn your POSIX basics, your pipes and all that. Because a
operating
lot of
system,
programs
especially on how the file server work, how file system work.
Yes.
Yep.
Understand about your memory management. So I have another story for that. There's this time where somebody actually created a very low data in memory. As a result, they get killed by the OOM killer. So
do we still have OOM these days?
Yeah. Well, not on cloud stuff, but
Okay.
I mean maybe. But
Yes.
it's very common for like especially applications that are in scripting languages
Correct.
like you have let's say a 20 column database, but you just need one item there, like a boolean there, whether it's display or not, right? And then people will instantiate a full object with all of the data in that row just to check that column.
ORM did get their bad name also last time.
Yeah.
Because the ORM that I work with, even SQL Alchemy last time, they are guilty of loading the whole everything, then they filter it during the runtime.
So
yeah.
That,
The problem there is like you'll have people who will loop through everything, instantiate all of the rows, and then do an array sort and merge and whatever.
The worst one is if you get the relationship right. Also, you can accidentally load all the rest of your child data. I mean, if you're loading the parent, you might load all the child together as well.
So understand how your memory work. Understand that why things like
gradually learn how to. But for me, IO is the first thing that I teach.
Yeah.
If I'm going.
So the next thing you should. Yes, IO is another one. Then possibly not interpersonal communication, but a bit rare nowadays. But when you do, so memory management, understand why you don't load everything in memory, why you use iterators, and why sometimes you let your database do your heavy lifting. So these are those things. IPC, IO management, before I go to IPC, IO management, understand why you should not use, in theory, it's fine to use SQL as a database.
Basic knowledge of networking as well.
Yes, so don't do that, or why you should not.
I don't know. It's probably just the sample that I get is that networking is also basic one, not really until
you do not need to understand socket actually.
No, I mean as in routing and basic understanding, at least on how IP works, subnet, what is a subnet, those things.
You should also learn how to dump your data as a software developer. TCP dump or Wireshark. That's another thing you should know about networking. Because you may want to know about the payload that you send over through your API service and whatnot. So something to think about.
So next is not so important. Learn the language. Just ignore the suggestion on the list. Just pick whatever.
Oh yeah, so the purples are the ones that are recommended. Green is like alternatives. So you have like color codes here.
JavaScript.
You have a green check, so it's like
Sure.
alternatives, learn
But-
whatever, and then the purple check is whatever the author recommends.
Okay. I don't
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
Just pick whatever. Just go whatever first.
Correct. Because if you learn JavaScript, the pro is it's easy for you to build something up, and you can't avoid it with build web application. There's a con for doing JavaScript. JavaScript is not really great for system development.
Oh, I thought
So one of the-
the con there is that you're gonna be scarred for life if you start with JavaScript. Like you're gonna be very cynical and no.
I don't recommend
I've
it.
seen that
I don't
JavaScript
recommend
code.
it. The type system
But-
is too loose. If people start, no, I mean if somebody who is trained that wants a scripting, I don't mind using it. But
Yeah.
if you're gonna start something that you want to establish your, I mean, if you have what you're doing, that is fine. I mean, for those that have no idea, the type system is a bit too loose for me.
Yeah. So I would prefer language like Go, Rust, and all that. Probably not Java
No,
or C
actually,
Sharp.
Python is okay. Ruby is okay.
Yeah, and there's
If
a
I'm
reason
gonna
for
let
that.
people choose, it's gonna be Python or Ruby. But back then it was Perl that relate to doing stuff with the
Correct.
with scriptings and stuff as the automation of your whatever that you
Yeah.
try to do.
Well, Perl before the blessed thing. The blessed thing, the object-oriented Perl made it quite confusing.
But
But
I
at
like
least the normal Perl is fine.
Python and Ruby and possibly Go is because you have system libraries, the OS module in Python, for example, and that actually helps you to learn everything above on the system level.
Rust is also fine if you can pick it up, but the site that they put it up is actually pretty correct. Actually, JavaScript should be on the left side as well. Java, C#, PHP, and JavaScript, they run on their special runtime, which is abstracted
correct.
from the system directly. Especially like
Yes.
Java and Net, you don't actually interact with the system directly. You interact via the runtime. What is
Correct.
permissible via the runtime?
Correct. I mean, even though Python,
It doesn't mean that it's bad. Is that people should know the difference, lah.
Yep. So the next one is version control Git that is given. I'm going to move on. If you do not know,
these days is
databases.
often Git anyway.
Yep. Databases.
Just choose one.
Choose one. Actually, it doesn't really matter. The only thing is you're very likely not going to use MS SQL and Oracle as your first database, unless you work in the enterprise environment.
Or in school, you
Yeah,
learn
but
in school.
feature-wise, though, I think Postgres is just recommended. It just has a lot of the
Correct.
stuff that you would want in a database.
Correct. So I mean, I would bias, but
I think that my bias is that people should understand what database is, which is
Correct.
not.
Mhm.
That's why the name of relational database system.
yes,
But basically, a flat file can be a database itself.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not
just,
if you learn-
it's very difficult to normalize it, but yes,
If you
sure.
learn about like some of the basic algorithms, also we should be able to write some basic indexing file system, database system ourselves, but these are the one that actually get done well for us.
Yeah. Also, instead of choosing one, you should go skip ahead and learn about. Don't learn ORM. Learn the reason behind ORM and learn the query that is done by ORM and learn actual queries.
Yep.
ORM give you a lot of shortcut. Unfortunately, a lot of those are really shortcut.
You learn the DSL instead of the SQL.
Correct.
itself.
So don't be stuck
lot-
on a.
Also, a lot of the performance issues actually can be easily solved by knowing the SQL.
Correct. So things
It's not
like
like
setting.
It's not really that hard. I can say it's not really hard because all those tips and stuff are on the official document, at least for Postgres.
Mhm.
So yeah, pick a relational database.
Yeah.
Learn all those things is on ORM,
No
SQL,
SQL,
all that.
no SQL is fine, but treat it just like ORM.
Yep.
I've
Well, it
no
has its
objection with
own
that.
it has its own quirks.
Yes.
Like it's
I mean,
its own pitfalls.
yeah.
Like you have your n+1 in relational, you have your like non-normalized stuff on NoSQL. You're treating
However, more about the database is that something that I don't even recommend people to pick it up so early. First, even data replication, sharding. Most people scale vertically for databases.
Correct.
And
that's why it's a gray check mark.
Yeah, great. Capture it later lah. This is for later lah. Not really.
The gray check marks are like do it later.
Yeah,
yes.
Do it later.
So ACID important transaction. Please start learning about that because a lot of people do not know things like database had an optimizer internally that they will compile and create their own query, and they do that by transaction. So something to understand. N+1 is common, should be common enough that you should know that. Then database normalization, underrated, but something you should learn because once you know that, then you understand data modeling. Then you things like DynamoDB won't be so weird anymore.
Well, not just that. Database normalization is important so that you have consistency. The problem with non-normalized data is that you change something and you change something else, and if they go out of sync, which one is the truth, right? So there needs to be like a single source of truth there, and duplicating data just makes things very difficult in the long run. Like you're just making problems for yourself in the future.
Correct. So learn all this pretty important.
Yeah, and this is the biggest problem on NoSQL databases that don't do relational. Like you have to duplicate things, and so your single source of truth is very difficult.
Then you need another ETL.
Yeah. And so just because big companies say joins are bad doesn't mean they are always right. Joins are bad when you reach a certain level.
Know what you're doing. The most important is know what you're doing.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
it's not really, if you know what you're doing, none of them are actually bad.
Correct. Which comes to something that is said, don't listen blindly to what people say.
Yeah, but really the replication part don't touch me first. Waiting. Don't be bothered really until almost the end, unless you are doing like you are trying to write a replication engine and stuff or this.
Or better yet, just like go to a platform as a service and use their replication stuff because they make money making replication work.
It's not easy. It's not an easy thing. I can say it's a pretty vertical skill.
Correct. So the next one is APIs.
REST, yes. What's the difference with JSON API and REST? Oh, okay. You serve JSON.
Yeah.
It's always 200, and then you have success fail.
Head OS. I don't know. I have mixed feeling about that. It is like XML. It is like putting XML to JSON with a namespace. But correct, it's great. Authentication, very important. However, I disagree on the cookie base. Learn how cookie works because that is the most basic thing that cookie and basic auth are the almost the first stack the browser can support.
Correct.
There's a token as well, right? Token authentication is where you always send a token with your request.
OAuth is another layer, and JWT is actually another layer because even the browser they don't do it. Get the native one. Cookie very important.
No, well, cookie and token are actually the same. It's just that token you always put it on your URL, whereas the cookie, because it's always sent by request for every request for that particular domain, then you can store the token there. But it's different,
But at least learn about just throw OAuth away. OAuth is a different monster. There's a lot of things to learn, and I think should be later. Of course, for newfangled app, it's good to have it in. But
Yeah.
for foundation wise, learn about whatever that the browser can support natively first.
Correct. So let's go down to security. Hashing, of course.
Yeah,
and
caching very important. It causes a lot of misery to a lot of people.
then you go down to caching. Oh, sorry, it's actually caching with the security. Caching CDN. CDN, you need to understand your
Client side, yep.
DNS server configuration. Then you know.
Redis, memcache. Yeah,
Yeah.
Redis. How do you? Yeah, all those cache validation thing also very important.
Correct. Yes. So the thing about Redis is flat, so you need to be careful about what you cache.
Yeah,
So-
Well, no, you
I think
have particular commands there. It's not SQL basically. It's like
Yeah,
something
correct.
about sets, and you have to specify properly your attributes so that you
Yeah.
can do a set operation on your data set.
Yep. So then client-side caching. Yeah, not. You better know this because a lot of people confuse with when things are not as updated as soon as they do it. So I think this should be go
Also
on
server-side
top than on bottom actually. So then we go back to security. It should be caching first and security actually.
Very important.
Then understand your.
I think
your-
this should be part of how internet work also.
correct. So understand why you have things
Hashing
like
also hashing is actually in a way a bit intersect with JWT and OAuth things like when they have a
Yes.
hashmag and stuff.
correct. Then after security, understand your basic security. Actually, web security knowledge also understand things like
Very important, especially these days the browser they are gradually tightening it, like especially content
Correct.
security policy and cost was never there
Yeah.
last time. So now these days the CSP also are actually creeping in, understandable.
Yeah.
Your customer just upgraded their browser, and now your application doesn't work.
Yeah, like
And
especially
now you have to fix it.
the one that I think almost everybody familiar with is iframe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The iframe policy.
So and also understand about your OS level because web security here only focus on browser side and all that, but you also have things like SQL injection and all that, which under OWASP and a lot of those doesn't make sense unless you understand your operating system.
And also not to write something like that might prove to be a remote execution. I wrote a very nice web service API that allows you to query anything data you want. Oh, that actually became a remote execution.
Yes.
That I can run anything.
Yeah.
Correct.
Sorry, Odin on the comments is saying teach me. I'm not sure what he wants us to teach him. So
Swimming.
I don't know. Swimming.
After
Swimming, teach him, please. I don't
Oh,
know. I think he'll need to clarify.
We actually know.
No,
him.
basically he just look at us and we are like teacher and we are like senior devs.
Yeah, like
Except we
teacher
are
senpai.
senior devs.
I think it's
so-
just swimming here that looks the part.
Yeah. So then go down. Let's go down further to testing. Not
Pick
everything is
some-
integration test.
Don't
Just
get
so you
fixated.
know.
Testing, the only advice I have is don't get fixated with the coverage score.
Yeah.
Some people chase coverage like basically there's the meaning for test is lost.
No. So what I think I do about testing is unit test, test behavior.
Behavior.
And I use mocking so that I can consistently trigger a 500, for example.
If you know that behavior, if you know that often the pitfall is we are testing things that we expect.
Correct. So we are so be very careful in a way that we may end up like the guy that search for needle because that's the only place with light.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the problem. So just be careful about how you test. But tests you should add more tests as you see more problem in the production or whatever. So, and don't go crazy over it and always review it and all that. But it's there, Then CI/CD, correct. plan about it. And
But actually, I don't think that is as important.
yeah,
I think it's at least until before CI/CD is good enough for most.
yes,
Then after you spend some time, familiarize yourself with everything, then gradually move down there. These are
Correct.
only helpful, like CI/CD and design patterns. These things are actually helpful when once we are more familiar with everything, we can appreciate it more. lah.
correct. So because
Or else you just be calc, like people writing codes following certain design patterns without understanding what it does.
correct.
They will
So
become very painful lah for everyone.
precisely. So for example, if you going to serverless too soon, then you forget that why people do serverless. You may put everything in one serverless, then unfortunately, then you realize that you may overdo it one way or another. Or Docker, then you a lot of people just run Docker. Then
Oh, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that senior doesn't have that. We also
yes,
have that issue, but we have to be aware lah.
correct.
Not to lose the original purpose of that, like why we are using that in the first place.
Correct. So, which is why quite often among the engineers, my circle, you realize that we don't know the latest thing all the time. So, because sometimes we jump too fast, we realize that it doesn't make sense yet.
No, I think it's more like when a senior developer makes a mistake, it's more expensive. So that's why you tend to stick to the ones that are actually working.
Yeah,
like a fresh graduate might make a mistake. Okay, fine, we'll just override the code.
This is something that I really against teaching to students is the design patterns. Like it because it will become like you basically how Java got its bad name is because people just follow the way how that is, like, and then it became like the code they wrote became like, I don't know, the mess that we often criticize Java for, because they were taught patterns before they know what they need to solve. Patterns are supposed to solve certain problems.
Correct.
But then again, I think it's that would be specific to Java, because Java is a bit too strict or like too inflexible in the sense that you really need these patterns in order to do something. Whereas like languages like Go or Python, you have enough flexibility that you can get away with some of them because you can express the way you want your code to behave a lot easier.
But that is until you write sufficient enough code to appreciate.
Yes.
Then like if I just teach you, like if I teach solid, people will just follow solid. But why? Like also like the fluent interface, like it's also something that I see people request for all languages, like but like why? But it's just something that they would like to see.
Yeah. Actually, I think web server should be bring up very earlier.
Yeah.
HTTP doesn't make sense.
Message broker very nice, but don't bother with Kafka. Kafka is too heavy for me.
Yes.
Too complicated to set up. RabbitMQ is good to start, but something like ZeroMQ also for.
Yeah, but nobody use it though.
I probably different circle but.
Yeah. I don't see enough people using it.
It's Docker. If you don't know how system work, you'll be miserable. Correct. Basically, for all this, it depends. These are all depends. GraphQL, if you don't know what you're doing, also you'll be miserable.
Yes.
If you don't know, basically all this, but web server is very important. Web server, I think web server. These are, I think the design principle, everything actually should be branch out then directly to web server. Web server is very important. It's basically how we deploy also.
Correct. So because you're not going to deploy only Django apps or Rails, and you will often.
Well, it depends on your deployment. Depends on the deployment. If the application is packaged as a Docker container, you don't need a web server as part of the Docker container.
But like at least know how path and files are being served. What are path?
Because
like let's say, especially when people say microservices, like how do you tell? Because that is covered way before this. Like at least know how to point this resource to what and that.
yes,
Apache, I cannot say about Apache. I try to do I try to go back to Apache. I had something that I need to do with Apache recently that I actually forgot everything about it.
Yeah, I don't remember Apache anymore. I've been
After
doing a lot of
Nginx,
Nginx configuration.
Nginx was so simple. Also, like these days, KD also is so simple.
I haven't tried KDE. A lot of people are recommending it to me.
Fun fact, like even
try
I'm a
it.
Go developer, I don't use KD.
KD is not too bad. It have their own complexity, but think of it as a dynamic. It's a web framework for. It's a nice abstraction.
Because if I'm working with a server, I do apt-get install nginx, and I know it's /etc/sites enabled, and I'm fine, right? I know exactly what to do. I expect this to be here. It's working.
It's simple because Nginx actually in a way follow Apache's convention also.
Correct.
And also the
I don't know if
logging format also.
Yeah, I don't know about KDE, so I might have to relearn a lot of things with KDE.
I never tried it.
If Nginx is fine, then
the reason why I didn't try is because of the licensing previously.
Yeah, now the license is okay now. So
let's if you go back there, like building for scale, then I agree mitigation strategy and understand the difference between instrumentation, monitoring, and telemetry, very important. And also monitoring if it includes logging. So those part very important because that will hit us sooner than we need solid kits or because if we fail one of them, like if you don't know how to handle back pressure, then your service will die faster than it's more emergency sort of circuit breaker. And load balancing is load balancing that not load shifting they call it. Load balancing very important.
Can load balance with DNS. You don't need to your 5-minute load balancer I can do in like 2 minutes, including the TTL.
Yes, but then you have.
It's not a scary list Also.
Yeah. It's not too bad actually.
I'm confident that if somebody start from not really like really good, like start from scratch to really understand it, I think gradually take their time. Like if they for all the yellow boxes spend a month, it's not that bad also.
Yes, because I think some of it should be bring earlier.
It's fair also as a learning progress. Each of the yellow boxes, a month of the dedicated learning for the yellow boxes.
Yeah.
And this is not like a weekend thing, right?
No.
Like your month means like actual
learning. Yeah, not 2 days a month.
No.
Intensive learning.
This is like your RPG skill tree.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna.
I think that's what they want. Yeah.
But before you can do that, I'm not gonna trust you with my server, so do it with your server.
Yes. So this is why sometimes I complain.
That's with the assumption that it's somebody who knows what is like get some prior education that they forgot everything. They want to pick it back up, something like that based on that.
Yeah.
I not totally like people that that had totally no idea, don't even know how to operate a computer in the first place. That might be some time to onboard first. I mean, this is assuming my thing about a month per yellow boxes is at least some basic of knowing what these things are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Should be. I mean, it's a fair one. One month for each is. It's fair.
Hello, my network died.
Oh, what happened to Swimming? Oh, there you go. He's back.
My network died for some reason. if my brother actually stealing network, I will kill them.
You need to QL.
No, actually, I had a shitty router. I need to replace it again.
Okay.
Lah.
What
This
I
one
did
cannot
last
do
time,
traffic control.
try communication. If it doesn't work, last time what I did was that it's fair also for everyone. After certain hour, disconnect everyone. I just ban everyone, every devices.
Yeah.
I think
So-
most, because even back then the crappy router that provided by the telco, they support the MAC blacklist. No, what do you call
Yes.
it? Deny list these days. Deny
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, deny
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
Not well, it's ban list or deny list.
Okay. Ban list.
Because instead of I think the words were used to be whitelist and blacklist. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
either allow list and ban list or deny list and
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what the opposites are.
Yeah. So either way, good list to learn. This is a good list to learn. I don't agree with all this.
If you count the
Sorry.
boxes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
But it's something that you
15,
learn
16,
along the way.
17, 18.
It's not something that you can learn because by the time you finish all that,
Well,
there'll be new stuff.
within 2 years, if you spend dedicated, I mean, as in full immersion kind of learning lah. For
Yeah.
2 years, you
Yeah.
can be really good.
Yeah,
You might
in
be
2
even
years,
better than most of the people out there.
you're probably legit call yourself like a junior ready to be promoted to a mid,
Yeah.
like a legit thing, not like those mid developers who's been like only promoted because they've been doing the same thing for 5 years.
Yeah.
So,
You will learn along the way. Don't worry
The
about
jump
it.
to senior is another thing lah. The jump is actually higher level thinking already lah. There's
Correct.
often, of course, provided the technical knowledge is there, but the plus is actually the higher level decision making.
So with that said, I will post this link to our notes, and I think next week we won't be doing our show. So I have a happy Hari Raya, and for anybody that getting vaccinated, I know a lot of people actually registered. Get vaccinated. Take MC if you need. Because don't waste the vaccine, please. So yes.
It's not a free
Ah,
pass for
Cname,
you
are
to
you-
get out for party.
yeah.
Go on.
Are you posting a Happy Raya video next week? And an apology that we're not doing
I don't
something?
think so.
No.
Are you gonna
okay.
wear something special?
I don't have a
I don't know.
Raya clothes anyway, so don't bother lah.
So, but we're not doing anything next week, right? Probably just posting, like
Yes.
on Facebook saying we're skipping Happy Hari Raya, and then see you
Correct.
all in May, the
Yeah.
week after May, after next week.
Yeah. So yeah, have fun. Don't play fireworks. Get vaccinated. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Should we
Let
say
us
goodbye?
know what you think about this roadmap. Like,
Yes.
is this something you'd want to follow? Do you want to include more?
Oh.
So there's
Oh,
just the
yes.
back end that they consider. There's also like the front end of DevOps. There's QA as well. Unfortunately, it's not yet ready. I was actually
Yeah.
interested in QA. Like, what is the roadmap for a QA? So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So let us know. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Like feed
all
the
that.
algorithm.
Yes. So shall we say goodbye then?
Bye. Good
Yeah.
night.
Bye.
I'm gonna end the broadcast.